I'm Fletcher Rhoden. Today on Quotes and Quips, words of wisdom from Frank Zappa. Quotes and Quips is brought to you by my website, FletcherRhoden.com, where you'll find links to my author page at Amazon.com. That's where you can buy my books in their various formats, paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. There's a link to my Spotify artists page, where you can download my music in its various subgenres. I've got new music for 2024. You can download my music anywhere, all over the internet. And if you go to my website, there's free music that you can get there exclusively. Okay, speaking of music, Frank Zappa. A very brilliant musician, provocateur, intellectual. He said a lot of interesting things, and among them was this. The mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. The mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. Okay, well, now what does he mean by this? Well, it's quite clear. There's not too many quips one can deliver on this. The quote pretty much says it all. You got to have an open mind or you've got no mind. An open mind is requisite for understanding, for empathy, for sympathy, for love, for hope, for faith, for knowledge. An open mind drives the scientific method. All scientists have open minds because new discoveries reveal, as we've discussed on the show, very often that previous sets of data led scientists to incorrect conclusions. The data was as good as it could be, and the conclusions were as good as they could be, but, you know, every model of the universe has been overturned by a subsequent model. And almost every group of scientific facts we've ever has been made obsolete by a subsequent group of facts. This is the nature of science. And in order for one to fully absorb what science has to offer, you got to have an open mind. That means, for example, stem cells. You know, you can't be closed-minded about it if you're going to make the most of it. Galileo faced a problem very comparable to this in his own time, as did Socrates. Socrates had an open mind and it got him killed. He wasn't the first, and he certainly wasn't the last. An open mind is a dangerous thing in many societies. In a fascist society, an open mind is a dangerous thing. That's why Stalin had so many intellectuals killed. Because they're thinking, and that's not good. But also, when I think of this phrase, this quote, I think of the parachute because the visual aspect, obviously, is that a person's falling. And while a parachute, like the mind, a parachute only works when it's open, without it, one is doomed. It's not just, oh, isn't that clever? Parachutes and minds both open up, and that's how they work best. Well, that's clever. It is. But the second half is what really drives it home. And that's, if your parachute does not open, you fall, you plummet, you descend to your doom. Not only is an open mind the best way a mind functions, just as a parachute best functions open, but without it, failure is certain. Doom is prescribed. The very forces of nature as we understand them make this necessarily so. Without an open parachute, you're not likely to survive that drop. I mean, I suppose it's possible. You know, the human body bounces, it doesn't splatter. And I suppose you could maybe, by a fluke, fall into some trees, and then maybe into a lot of very tall, very soft grass, and roll you down into a nice pond or something. Maybe you'd survive it, but probably you would not. So would you want to risk it? You want to jump out of that plane with a closed parachute? You need an open mind. It's not just a clever way to look at it. Without an open mind, you're going to fall. You're going to fall hard. You're going to land hard. And you won't survive without the open mind. Not only is that how it functions best, without that, you will not survive. The mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And if it doesn't work, you've got nothing but the fall. And then the landing. Okay, so words of wisdom from Frank Zappa. If you want to hear me quip on more quotes, come back, because I'm here every Monday at this YouTube channel at noon. I leave them up, so there are plenty of reruns. You can also see reruns of my show from last year, Tracking the Lone Wolf, on its own YouTube show, Tracking the Lone Wolf, here on YouTube, on its own channel, I should say. And go to my website, check out my music and my books, and come back next week. Until then, bye, Mary.